Thomas and the trucks put such a big smile on my face, partly because of the nostalgia, but also there were just some really gorgeous shots that I'll talk about in a moment. This is also called Trouble for Thomas. It's the sixth episode of Thomas and Friends, and it aired in 1984. I don't remember this from my childhood, but I had forgotten about the naughty freight trucks. When I saw those, I did remember those as characters, and Edward is unable to take the freight trucks. Thomas decides to do it instead, and Thomas is looking forward to this because he's always doing carriages, and he thought, okay, this is going to be great, but he doesn't quite realise just how mischievous the freight trucks can be. For example, when Thomas is going down a hill, he needs to brake, but the trucks bash into each other instead and push Thomas down the hill at great speed. This gets him into a bit of trouble with the Fat Controller, and he's told that after practicing with the freight trucks, he will eventually become a really useful engine. Which is interesting to think that in the beginning, Thomas wasn't necessarily a useful engine. It's really, really beautifully shot. It uses the theme tune throughout it, which is really gorgeous, and we have some amazing facial expressions for Thomas, but also some fabulous point of view shots. And I love those. It kind of reminds me of being a child and sitting at the front of a train on the metro trains. It's always really exciting, and it just kind of evokes those kind of memories that I absolutely loved. There's also quite a wide shot at one point of Thomas coming, I think, around a corner, and the camera pans out, and we can see in the background what is obviously a board, and they've obviously painted or drawn on some of the distant scenery, and it just looks so smooth and so wonderful, and it's beautifully shot. And even now, I'm assuming these have been filmed in sequence, but if not, it's a coincidence that looking back at the very first episode, even in this short space of time, they've become more creative with their camera angles. They're utilising a much wider space. The camera work is becoming a lot more intricate. And again, maybe they weren't filmed in sequence and it's just a coincidence, but that's definitely something that I'm picking up on, that I've, obviously as a child I wouldn't have seen. But I love model railways, like a lot of people, and they just make me feel so nostalgic for when I was a child. And this episode is an absolute delight. Thomas and the Trucks is beautifully filmed, very entertaining with Thomas's facial expressions. There's not so much of a big moral or message in it. I think this is one of the first times where the message doesn't really relate to everyday, other than perhaps persevering. His first trip out with the freight trucks didn't go very well, but the more he does it, the more he practices, as the Fat Controller said, you'll become a really useful engine. So I guess that's the message there, but it wasn't as in your face as some of the others. But definitely it's something that's entertaining, that's beautifully done, and fills me with such wonderful nostalgia that I can't help but love it.